Hi, I'm Kirk, cereal crop specialist with Manitoba Agriculture. So this year has been a late start for many producers. Crops are at very different stages. Some of the cereal crops are ready to be harvested or have been swathed. Others are still quite a long ways away from that stage. So one thing I wanted to talk about was pre-harvest glyphosate timing and also swathing timing. So both of those management practices should only be done once the crop has reached physiological maturity. So there's a couple of ways to tell if a crop has reached maturity. One is looking at the area just underneath of the stem. So looking to see when this section of the stem has started to turn brown. Another more accurate way is to actually look at the seed and see what stage it's reached. So when we're thinking about pre-harvest glyphosate application or swathing, we want to be hitting the time when the seed is around 30% moisture content. So swathing, we have a wider window because we're not worried about maximum residue limits for herbicide. But for glyphosate timing, we want to be making sure that it's being applied once the seed is less than 30% moisture content. The best way to tell is to actually pull some seeds and then do what we call the fingernail test. So put your fingernail into the seed. If the seed is firm and your fingernail leaves an indentation that doesn't come back, then the wheat has reached hard dough stage. The same applies to barley and oats as well. At the soft dough stage, your fingernail will leave an indentation, but it will slowly rise up, so you won't be able to see it as well. So that's when the crop has reached the hard dough stage or physiological maturity, and the seed isn't gaining any more weight. It's just going to be drying down a bit after that stage. When we're thinking about pre-harvest glyphosate applications for wheat, barley, and oats, there's a couple things to consider. One is that glyphosate is registered as for weed control, not actually as a desiccant. So if you're applying it, you'd likely be wanting to target some perennial weeds that might be in the crop, not necessarily having that crop dry down really quickly. Another really important thing to consider is your market. So malt barley is for sure no. You for sure cannot apply glyphosate to a malt barley crop because it would be affecting the germination. Oats, a lot of markets don't take crops that have been applied with pre-harvest glyphosate, and wheat as well. I think it's just good to check to make sure what the market will accept. So before applying anything, the best bet is to call a grain buyer and make sure it's okay. And then also you don't want to be applying it too close to harvest as well. Assuming that the glyphosate may be taking, say, 10 to 14 days for that crop to actually dry down and be harvest ready. For swathing, I think that in a late year where you might be having some late season tillers that are still green and just wanting to speed up harvest timing in a year where we might be seeing later combining than normal, for swath timing, it's also that 30% is a good target. But you can go a little bit on a little bit earlier and not have a big effect on yield or any effect on yield. So just a couple of things to consider when thinking about desiccation or swathing for cereal crops.